Good news, all you Auburn recruiting fans. You got a big commitment today just before the season started, the 8th one for the 2023 cycle. We're going to dive into who that is, a little bit about him, and what it means for Auburn football. As always, we remind you to smash the like button if you enjoyed this type of content. The 8th commitment for 2023, Daquayvious Sorey. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, buddy, and I apologize if I'm not, but Daquayvious Sorey is the 8th commitment in 2023. Committing today, August 26th, 2 weeks, exactly pretty much, right after J.C. Hart, who a lot of people thought would be the last one before the season actually started. So I want to say surprise commitment, but not necessarily so. We kind of all saw this shifting when he announced that he'd be committing this Friday. A lot of people, the experts, were predicting it was going to Auburn since he had kind of changed things around. But in some nature of things, it's still a little bit of a surprise. Let's talk a little bit about the commitment. He's a 4-star wide receiver out of Chipley, Florida, and Chipley High School, diving deep into the wealth of talent that is down there in the state of Florida. Auburn actually beat out Alabama, Florida, and Miami as some of his top schools to get the commitment of Sorey. Now, originally, he was a Georgia commitment way back in the day. I didn't even know about that. I had to go do some digging about that. He was actually supposed to commit, a lot of people thought, to Florida on July 4th of this past summer, and then he pushed back his commitment date to this point, and recently announcing he was going to announce today, and obviously selecting the Auburn Tigers. So he's kind of had an interesting story about, and Sorey had a story about how he came to make his decision here. And he claims right now after his commitment that he is shutting down the recruitment. He is all Auburn. So I guess we have to take him at his word, but I can definitely see where you see a pattern there, like makes you a little nervous. He's already decommitted once, thought he was going to commit somewhere else, but I'm going to take the guy at his word. I'm super excited to have him here, and he'll be having an official visit for an Auburn football game in the Penn State game. That's a big one to be at. Now some fun facts about Sorey himself, just letting you know the type of athlete that you're getting to be part of this 2023 class. He is 6'2", 190 pounds. For some reason, when I read those stats, I immediately thought of a particular player on Auburn's team right now. Who is that? Shedrick Jackson. I don't know why. And I just kind of really think that kind of fits the mold. Now, if you look at Shed's stats right now, he's about 6'2", 202, I think is what he's listed at right now. So if you look at Sorey, he's a little bit on the lighter side right now, but that's to be expected. He's a senior in high school, and Shed is a fifth-year senior, I think it is at this point, at Auburn University. So you can see this guy with the type of frame that already seems similar to a Shedrick Jackson. He can build into that, grow into that, add some weight, add some muscle, and could be very similar in nature as a very good possession wide receiver like Shed has been. He is also a 3-sport athlete, football obviously, basketball as we see a lot of times, and a track and field athlete. It's a common theme for Coach Ike Hilliard going out and getting these multiple sport guys, especially track guys it seems like. So with the track, he also ran a 100-meter dash and long jump. So it's not just about speed, but it's about jumping ability as well. You obviously want to see that in a wide receiver to go up and high point a ball and bring it down for the Tigers. And it looks like their season for their high school, Chipley High School, has not actually started yet. It'll start, I think, the second week or so of September, and we'll get some stats from that. So I don't really have any hardcore stats from his previous seasons to really share with you on this video, but we'll talk some more about him later on down the line when we get some stats from this season. Now on to what it means for Auburn. Well, obviously, first we always talk about what it means for the current recruiting class. This is the 8th overall commitment, the 4th on offense, so it's evenly split, 4 on offense, 4 on defense, and the 2nd wide receiver commit of this class alongside Carmelo English, who we've talked about in a previous video, and we're going to talk more about him in this video as well. Now let's talk about what it means for the future of Auburn. As always, I stress to plan on these guys redshirting their first year. That way you're not disappointed when you don't see your favorite player out there on the field in significant time in their first year. However, I will say there's always opportunities for guys to surprise and get in there very, very early. With wide receivers, though, it could be a little bit tricky. The only one right now, if I've got my numbers correctly, that are probably likely to leave, is going to leave, is Shedrick Jackson because he came back for an extra year. He's the only one that should be leaving. Now, you can expect maybe someone has a breakout year and leaves and goes to the draft. Maybe someone, one or two, decide to transfer out. But right now, the depth chart seems to have a lot of options there that are already kind of rising in the ranks. Doesn't mean that Carmelo English, or now Sorey, can't come in here and do something. In fact, I would say this. We've been talking a lot about the wide receiver room, about nobody really stepping up and making the room theirs and really seizing the role of that lead wide receiver. If that still doesn't happen this season, there's absolute opportunity for one of these two guys, even Sorey, to walk in here as a freshman and say, you know what, I'm making this my own. So you just never know. I always like to talk about this on our videos in terms of what it means about battleground states, where you're recruiting from, where you're pulling these guys in from. Alabama, Georgia, Florida. We talk about it a lot. Those are the pipeline states. Obviously, Alabama, we're from there. Georgia is right next door. We're basically in Georgia. And Florida has always been historically a key pipeline. This is a place where we go. And this is not the first time in this class that we went to the state of Florida to get one of the athletes out of there. You're competing with some of the top programs out of Florida for a guy like Sorey. Florida and Miami. And not to mention the other Florida programs that have the capability in pulling guys like this. But Florida and Miami alone, that says a lot about how well Auburn is doing making roads back into Florida after they've had probably some less than stellar recruiting cycles. And finally, let's talk about in terms of what it means, kind of back to what it could mean for this class. So what I say by that is you've got two wide receivers already, Carmelo English and Sorey now. That's two guys that kind of put as the pieces of the puzzle for that portion of this class. That doesn't mean that we're done. Although I look at the depth that is there right now at Auburn and look at that situation, I could see a scenario where somebody else is coming. But even if that wasn't the case, if it was just these two guys for this class, I think those are two solid pieces to really build towards the future in terms of your wide receiver room. Sorey is a guy who's probably, quote unquote, the bigger guy in terms of that. And Carmelo English would be the smaller guy, but not really that much smaller. So I think you got two different skill sets, two different body types that are coming into this room that are going to really benefit Auburn. We'll just have to wait and see what else happens in the wide receiver room in terms of if we're done yet. So those are all my thoughts on Daquayvious Sorey. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the commitment, what you think about his prospects for the future, and just anything you'd like to talk about celebrating this 8th commitment for the Auburn Tigers. Before you leave, though, be sure you hit that like button if you enjoy this type of content. Be sure to subscribe, along with hit the notification bell so you don't miss any uploads, live streams, any content here on the E2C Network. If you want to help support our content, there's ways listed in the description, such as hitting the join button here to be a channel member, or heading over to patreon.com/E2C Network to join the Booster Club. Thank you for tuning in to E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience. War Eagle.